It's day 3 of the ANC's National General Council in Boksburg, and delegates are focusing on some of the big issues facing the country and the party. Today's discussions will look at the economy, South Africa's role in the world, social challenges, and how the organization can better drive change. This comes as the ANC tries to keep members united as well as focused on its midterm progress following reports of internal tensions in recent days. Here's SABC News anchor Ayanda Nyathi, who's on standby at the NGC for us today. So, good morning, Ayanda. I'm sure lots to come there, given that day 3 of the NGC centered on the economy, social issues, and many other issues. Take us through what we are to expect today.
We're going to start with Hope Up, who's also around here. Thanks for agreeing to be persuaded by Samkele to speak to us very briefly. Get us a sense of some of the issues that you're hoping to have deliberated today, but focused on as we enter these different commissions.
Today we're going to be in 17 commissions, policy commissions, to assess progress in terms of implementation of resolutions from the 55th conference of the ANC held in 2022. Our delegates will be in all of them. We have actually policy proposals on economy, how to strengthen the organization, peace and security. For example, the issue in our province, which we are raising very firmly, is that the implementation of immigration and labor laws must be firm, because our province is the recipient of most illegal immigrants inside the country. It's one of the firm issues we are putting on the agenda. We're also going to be discussing, because our view is that the ANC must have a presence at street level, at block level, at voting district level. So in line with the decisions which were taken, we intend, as part of the rebuilding of the organization in the province, to actually ensure that our branches have got functioning subcommittees, they've got functioning sub-branches at voting district level, they establish block structures and coordination of work at street level. Because you can't talk of an organization which is a progressive, revolutionary organization, and it has no presence and a sense of what's happening at street level.
In fact, the leader of the party, when he gave his political overview, spoke about how it seems part of the reason why the party didn't do as well as he would have liked is because there is that disconnect. In fact, the analogy he used is that the ANC wasn't with the people. There weren't enough door-to-doors in the lead-up to that poll. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes, that's why one of the resolutions at the conference was that we need to build an organization which has got a reach up to street level. In fact, we're already in Gauteng, which is part of the renewal and rebuilding which we have as a PTT. We already have an integrated program to build those structures so that when we have got people who are coordinating work at street and block level, it becomes easy to reach to residents and explain problems when they happen at that level. So they don't leave it. People don't know why, for example, there's a problem of electricity, there's a problem of water. So that is what we actually intend to actually ensure that it becomes a decision between now and the next conference, between now and the local government elections.
Yeah. Migration, you're right, is a big issue, and I think it's probably going to dominate a lot of the matters that are likely to be ventilated in the election coming in a few months' time. What exactly would be the plan, at least as you envision it, given how entrenched the problem is, especially around the CBD, and how long-standing and pervasive it seems to be?
It's not the CBDs. Remember, there are people in townships who hire their homes to illegal immigrants and take rent from them. Some of them employ them as domestic workers. Some of them employ them as people who repair their cars. So the issue is, firstly, South Africans must accept that illegal immigration is a criminal matter. It's not correct. There are employers who employ illegal immigrants in their shops, in their factories, at the expense of South Africans.
But by then, they've entered the country illegally, and that's not on South Africans.
That is why South Africans and business people must cooperate with Home Affairs, border management, to actually deal with the problem. Because you cannot expect border management to deal with that problem without South Africans ourselves, both as citizens and as business people of South Africa, to be part of that. Because then you can't complain about illegal immigration, but during the day you employ somebody who's an illegal immigrant. That's the kind of hypocrisy which we have expressed even after our Lekgotla in the province. But obviously, we're going to be listening to other people who are going to be speaking from other provinces, because the NGC, it's about listening to each other, making assessments, and then suggesting ways of implementation. We're not changing policy here. Yes. We want to ensure that the policy implementation is actually speeded up. And ourselves, for example, on the economy, we've outlined the number of economic plans, the investments we're going to have in the 5 corridors of our province in terms of actually dealing with particularly youth unemployment, full-time jobs in government by filling up of vacant posts, the rebooting of Nasispani in our province. So we have a lot to contribute in terms of proposals to ensure firm implementation of our policies, because we understand Gauteng itself and KZN are very, very important to the architecture and politics of African National Congress. Right. In terms of it has the biggest number of registered voters. But we understand rebuilding and renewal of the organization it's not a quick fix, but we are going to do it. We are confident that we'll ultimately get it right.
All right, I hijacked you, so I appreciate your generosity. Thank you very much indeed for speaking to us. That, of course, is Hope Ape from the ANC in Gauteng, outlining, I suppose, some of the things that they are hoping to prioritize over the next couple of hours across those 17 commissions. Samkele Maseko has been greeting everybody here, so I'm going to call him a bit closer as we get a better sense of his own thinking, senior politics reporter here at the SABC. And let me just get a sense of what's going on in your own head, Samkele, given what we've just heard there from Hope, but I imagine what is ultimately at stake, right? Yes, this is a midterm review, but we're all looking ahead to the elections, both next year and in 2029. And let's face it, the ANC is approaching those a bit bruised.
It is approaching those 2026 local government elections and ultimately the 2029 general election very bruised. They are going into this National General Council, a total deviation from previous NGCs of the ANC. There's a particular focus on policy at this particular National General Council. Yesterday, it was about the midterm review of the ANC, where the ANC has fared in the past 30 years to where they are now, particularly on the aspects of where the National Democratic Revolution is at and the balance of forces domestically and internationally and what is at play. And today is a full-on policy review that is going to take place for the next 2 days, between today and tomorrow, in all aspects of the 17 commissions that are going to be taking place. Economic transformation, particularly when it comes to the beneficiation, opening up state-owned enterprises for private sector players, particularly within the locomotive sector at Transnet, and also the work of power utility Eskom in reviving the South African economy, because the fruits that you are seeing with the bit of economic growth that we are seeing, it is because of energy security within the country. That becomes very important with Dr. Khosi and Ramokgopa also entering the race politically, but also with the work they've been doing in trying to revive the ailing power utility, breaking it up into 3 different divisions: generation, transmission, and I forgot the third one, which will make distribution, which will make Eskom perform optimally, particularly knowing distribution, with those distribution lines that are going to be built in provinces such as the Northern Cape, Free State, Eastern Cape, which will be putting in renewable energy into the grid, is going to be very important. Those are some of the issues that are going to be ventilated, and also some of the pipelines that are going to be used within the energy sector, where DMRE, Kwede Mantashe, comes in, Department of Mineral Resources and Petroleum. That's going to be also be deliberated within these commissions, with the Northwest having some critical points on how South Africa will leverage on its mineral resources in order to grow the economy. But those mineral resources must also benefit the people that those mineral resources are currently at. If you look at the current social labor plans, the social labor plans send the money to the labor exporting provinces and not where the minerals are at this point in time, which are the issues that people like Nonomaloi of the Northwest, the provincial chairperson, is going to be bringing to the fore at these particular commissions that are going to be taking place.
Supra Mamapelo will chair the international relations part of the discussions, at least that commission. So much to be said about that when you think about South Africa's stance on what's happening in Gaza and what is perceived as the retaliation on the back of that, and how the US has treated the country since then.
The Republicans have applied a nose right now. They just lost Miami, which has gone to the Democrats. So Donald Trump is going to be officiating over the G20 summit in a city that is not governed by his own political party. That's going to be rather interesting. But it does certainly look like Supra Mamapelo is going to be chairing this international relations subcommittee. He is also part of the international relations portfolio committee in Parliament. He's a stifler for that particular issue. In fact, he sent me a message earlier on this morning. I just want to go to it with some of the points that are going to be within that Commission of International Relations. I just want to go to his message, it basically looks like he says that Africa should become one single unilateral state with one military, one ID, one passport, one market, one stock exchange, 55 federal states, etc. That is some of the points that they are going to be pushing, particularly within that international relations subcommittee, looking into the matters as well of international trade, the trade war, that subtle trade war that is there between South Africa and the United States of America, with those tariffs imposed by Donald Trump, with Donald Trump saying he's going to be cutting subsidies and funding coming to South Africa, particularly after the stance South Africa took at the G20 summit. South Africa's relationship with the BRICS formations, how does South Africa leverage on those particular networks in order to de-densify South Africa's trade with the United States of America, because if that tanks, it ultimately means that South African economy will suffer. So opening up trade in other markets and also the developing global south, increasing trade within those particular countries. Those are the issues that are going to be ventilated, and of course the support for the people of Palestine and against the atrocities that are perpetuated against them by Israel, and also trying to silence the guns in the African continent. In Cabo Delgado, you go to the Great Lakes region, and the many other parts of Western Africa that are conflict-ridden and where there are coups currently.
All of those items on the agenda for years now, but we'll see whether or not the discussions will finally move the dial. Briefly, Samkele, you and I are under the beating sun here in Boksburg. It is very hot this morning, but what's your sense of the temperature gauge of the conference itself? And I asked this question understanding that people are actually quite tight-lipped. We don't really have a sense of what's taking place behind those closed doors.
Firiam Balula said he's running a tight ship. It certainly looks like he is running a tight ship organizationally. There are tight-lipped on commissions. There are a few leaks here and there, unless if ANC leaders come out and say, no, we've got an abusive relationship with the South African Communist Party. We're cutting the umbilical cord with the SACP. They can't hold a gun to our heads with their resolution to contest. If they want to go, they can go. Anyways, they get 1%. That's some of the views permeating themselves out of this National General Council. It does look like they are in serious discussions. Particularly what's going to be interesting is international relations. It's going to be the Battle of Ideas Communications, which is chaired by Nkenke Kekana, and it's also going to look at issues of local government, where they've got to get their machinery going for the 2026 local government. Those are the three most important commissions: economic transformation, international relations, and also governance, on particularly a key focus on local government.
All right, Samkele Maseko, always a pleasure. Thanks very much indeed. Samkele, of course, our senior politics reporter, live to us here from the Bertrand Hotel, where day 3 of the ANC's NGC is essentially well underway. That's despite some of the delegates that are still trickling in behind me. I have no doubt they'll go straight to their commissions to start ventilating some of the issues that are going to unfold over the next couple of hours.